I use my whiteness today to further myself.
Yeah.
Like if I get into an argument, I'm trying to stop doing this now, but when I get into an argument, I sound like an angry old white man because I perceive that as powerful.
Assalamualaikum, I'm Asmar, and this is... So, yeah, today we're going to talk a little bit more about ourselves and how we unraveled the system, how we found ourselves being, you know, no longer really willing to be part of white supremacy and no longer aspiring to be white, maybe more accurately.
Okay.
And, yeah, Jagdeep.
Yeah, so the first experience, I think mine was more along the lines of when I realized how I was so like subservient to white supremacy was when I was at university. I went over to one of my white friend's house, and then his white friends were there, and the way that he greeted me was different to normally. Normally he'd just be like, "Oh, this is my terrorist friend, introduce me," like that. But this time, he didn't introduce me, and that hurt me more. And I was trying to understand why did that hurt me more? Why did I notice this difference? And I started thinking it's because I felt I was white when he was abusing me. So when he was abusing a brown body, it was okay because I was also a white person that's abusing a brown body. And then when he negated me as a human being, that's the first time I experienced a level of subhumanness. Like otherwise I was still a human. I was a terrorist.
Yeah.
I was a terrorist human being. But this first time that when he didn't talk to me, just avoided me, and his friends moved around me without acknowledging my existence, that dehumanized me so much that I was like, I need to reevaluate what's happening here, because that really hurt on some weird level that I never thought I could experience.
Can I ask something?
Yeah.
Was it because you said like that made you thought when you were joking about the brown body, you thought you were being white, but isn't it more human? But isn't it more like you had a place in his life? You had a place in whiteness, and then suddenly you were ignored, and then you were like, what am I doing here? And you were like, you realize how completely dependent you are on his actions and on his words.
Oh my, that makes so much sense. And then after that I took a step back, and he noticed it, and he tried to coerce me back into like friendship, which is it sounds so weird.
Coerce you back into friendship,
like by saying, "Hey, what's up, my terrorist friend?" Like just bring it jokes that we had back.
Him.
I don't need him anymore. I moved on. I had better friends. I was better on my own. But no, that was a really traumatic experience, and it still remains that counterpoint where I changed, where I started looking at things differently, where I started having to I took the time to acknowledge myself as a human being and then move forward from there.
Yeah, and as an independent human being that doesn't depend on white people's approval. Yeah.
Damn, it's still emotional.
Yeah. Why is it still emotional? Let's go deep.
Why is it still emotional? Because it still hurts that I'm not white. Because there's so much that I use today. I use my whiteness today to further myself. Like if I get into an argument, I'm trying to stop doing this now, but when I get into an argument, I sound like an angry old white man because I perceive that as powerful.
Yeah. Yes.
That's why a lot of people who are like from different countries, from the third world, they'll shout and swear in English because they find that the most offensive thing to do. Because when they hear it, they feel so hurt.
Yeah. It's effective. It's a way to express power.
That's why it hurts me still. Yeah. That's why it's still part of me, because I still speak in English.
Yeah.
Like, I still think in English. I still argue in English. I still want to be English.
Yeah.
And that's where my goals are. That's where my aspirations lie, within that sphere where I don't control.
But is that real? It's not really
it's still
real.
It's a part of me. It's not a full part.
Yeah.
But it still exists.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
And this is where we're trying to find the balance between like what is our indigenous self, what is real, what's authentic, and we're trying to navigate this. You know, we're in this space to do this together. Yeah. But they're tied to it as well. Their dignity is tied to us being Orientals and filling their position and continuing in that binary that they've created. But once we break out of that, their rule also goes.
So when you get back to your friend, what happened to him?
So the more I started loving myself and believing in myself, he wasn't allowed to stay around me.
Yeah.
Like, he couldn't exist around me. He would try to do his things, and I'd just counteract them. He'd say,
Yeah.
the terrorists. I'm like, why are you saying that?
Yeah.
And he would just be like, whoa,
What?
whoa, what do you mean? It's our joke. Like, fuck off,
Yeah.
bro. I'm not having that no more.
Yeah. So basically, it was not possible anymore to.
There's
to
no friendship.
coexist.
There's no
There's
friendship.
no
It was
friendship.
I got out of enslavement.
Yeah.
I took off the shackles of
Yeah.
of my dependence on him. Like you said, that was a really good.
Yeah.
I really like that example. That was an interesting conversation.
That
Thank
was
you, Asma.
interesting. You're
Yeah.
welcome. Thank you, Jagdeep.
Peace. Do you think?
What?
No,
Oh,
no,
you
no.
said, oh, this one.
Yeah.
This is not my thing. This is just for. This just happened to become my thing here.
Alright, bye.
Bye.